Hey everyone, welcome. My name is Robyn Cavallaro. I'm a realtor here in the Villages, Florida. And in this episode, we're going to talk about how to successfully negotiate a sale along with your realtor in this climate that we are presented with, September of 2024. Actually, today is September 12th. 2024, we are just 6 days away from... Okay. Anyway, people, let's talk about this because it's a very bizarre real estate climate right now. We have homes selling, we have homes sitting, we have unrealistic expectations on sellers' parts, we have unrealistic expectation on buyers' part. So I'm hoping to help everyone understand. So if you are a seller, you want to watch this. If you are a buyer, you definitely want to watch this. And it might help you make the process a lot easier. So before we get started though, I do have a couple of things I need to talk about. Well, first off, really, I want you to buy my journal here on Amazon to help you with your home search. So take a look at it. Publish them. They're available on Amazon. Journal sheet where you would keep track of each particular home. I have a place here for the address, the village section, when it was built, taxes. You can circle the general area homes, and you want to put together a budget. I have my monthly budget. Talking about a vendor, you can jot that down right here and you can keep this. This should be a resource for you, something that you could keep even after you make your purchase. But even if you're far away, like I said, if you're still looking from afar, you definitely can use this and keep everything organized. When you are going to make a renovation, this is the project place where you can keep everything organized. And let's see if you get a home that's Robyn approved. Right, and also, I do have a couple of listings just really quickly. 885 Bowden, which is over 2,000 square foot gardenia in case and hammock. Lots of updates to that one, upgrades to that 2-year-old home. Seller and his girlfriend are moving to Ocala. They have a 13-year-old daughter. We're going to talk about people asking me questions about the seller in this video as well. $635,000. I do have D'Alessandro, which is a 3-bed, 2-bath Charlotte model over in St. John for $411,900. I have a 3-bed, 2-bath Alamanda. Yeah, I think that's a model. Yes. 3331 Thorncrest up in the village of Summerhill for $370,000. And also I have the home on Moreno, which is a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,700 square feet for $409,000. And I do have 3 listing appointments this week, so we might have some new things coming up. All right, so let's get to it. So number one, wait, before we get to number one, the precursor. Buyers, do your homework. Make sure you have your proof of funds and your pre-approval letter so you are ready to make that offer. I actually did have a buyer I was working with. They ended up going to the VLS and they made an offer without proof of funds. I'm sorry, I cannot believe an agent let someone make an offer without proof of funds, because that's like a piece of paper. You don't know if they have the money. That was insane. Absolutely, I'm sorry, that was stupid. That was stupid, not on the buyer's part, but I can't believe the seller would accept an offer without proof of funds. Unrealistic. But anyway, make sure you have your ducks in a row. Make sure you work with a professional that's got your back, because that could make a deal go south very, very quickly. You want to leverage our expectation, our expertise, and our negotiating skills to get you, the buyer, the best offer, and the list, you, the best deal on the list side. So please choose wisely. Choose wisely when you're working with a realtor. So you've done your homework, you have your proof of funds, you kind of know where the market is, you get your realtor, I have my notes, and then you start, when you look for a home, look for the things that obviously you want. But we're gonna jump into, yes, you have found the perfect home for you at the moment. Number one, start with a realistic offer. If you go too low, you take the chance of irritating the seller. And I know some buyers don't care. They figure, I'll just go on to the next house. But if the home means something to you, make an offer that says that. Now, last week I was in, I can't tell you how many homes where I looked around and I thought, I don't know where they came up with this listing price, but this is ridiculous because there's so much work that needs to be done. I don't care if it's on the golf course. I don't care if it has a pool. I don't care where it is. Unrealistic, a lot of them. And trying to get to the seller to understand that can be difficult. And it's, and I hear this a lot. Oh, you realtors, all you want to do is raise the price so you make more money. Seriously, that is so far from the truth because really, we want to make a deal. Because we don't get paid unless we sell a home. So we try to be realistic with you, what to expect from a home purchase. I did have somebody make an offer and I was speaking with a very good listing agent. And I've worked well with them in the past, but when we went to make the offer, he said, hey, they wanted to list it here. I told them to list it here, just so you know that. And his estimate, his price was pretty much on spot on. Not theirs was probably a little too high. So please, again, pay attention to your realtor. They know the market, they know the people, they know the homes, they know the area. So again, leverage that expertise. Lowball offers sometimes are problematic because what you don't want to do is you don't want to start, okay, I'm going to go here or they're here, I'm going to come here and then they're going to come down and you're going to come up and they're going to come down and you're going to come up. After you make an offer and then they counter, if you counter one more time, you either need to stick to your guns or come up to where they want to be and get it over. When you start going back and forth, because I'm telling you, there's nothing more annoying than, well, I'm going to go up another $1,000. I mean, seriously, you're talking about what, a $700,000 house and you're going to go up $1,000. It starts off for a frustrating process. And it is frustrating for the realtors, but it's equally frustrating for the buyer and the seller. And you want a smooth transaction. I could be frustrated all I want. It doesn't really matter. But you don't want to frustrate and irritate either side because you want to make sure the transaction goes by smoothly. Because as the steps go on, if you have irritated buyer and seller, there's a lot of other things that might come up that you're going to want some assistance and they're going to resist on either side just because it was so difficult getting to step one or from 1 to 2. So just think about that. You almost have to treat it sellers if you were buying and buyers if you were selling. And I don't think that a lot of people do that. You think, I tell you what, unfortunately, in the villages, very few times do you find a real deal. Occasionally, you will find one. But, I've seen people lose homes because they lowball and then they kick themselves. And it's silly because you're sometimes, and look, I know this is not my money, but sometimes you're talking about $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $10,000, depending on the price of the house. In the scheme of things, it's really nothing. You have to think about, is it worth you losing this house? And the next point, be prepared to walk away. If you start to lowball offer or you can't meet the counter, be prepared to walk away. You might lose that house and then kick yourself later on. So just really, really think that through because it could be a really great home and you walked away because I don't know, you maybe got caught up in the moment, or I know this has happened to me. When we go to negotiate, I'll say, well, we can start here, but expect to get it here. And I'm pretty good with estimating where the property will sell at. So, you know, just have a realistic goal. Listen to your real estate professional. I kind of look at a real estate professional, and I know this might not be like a realistic analogy, but look at it as your doctor. You know, if your doctor says, and you trust your doctor, you need this, you know, are you going to start countering them? Or, you know, you might go for a second opinion. Okay, you know, you go look around and make sure you're making a qualified offer, but listen to the professional that does this for a living, because they can really guide you. They can guide you with price, they can guide you with home, they can guide you with area. Of course, nothing is set in stone, and we don't have a crystal ball. So sometimes, you know, things might take longer than others, but we kind of have a really good idea of what's happening. So remember, be careful of your lowball offers. Make realistic offers so you can get the job, you know, get the job done. And I've talked about this in other episodes where sometimes, you know, the house, it's really hard sometimes to comp homes here. I mean, you can, but if you're looking at a house, like for example, I was looking at a home up in Spanish Springs. It was on the course with a big yard and a pool. Well, you might not necessarily comp it with the homes in that general area, because you're going to comp it with the rest of the villages, because nothing may have sold there. So, you know, a 25-year-old home with a pool is going to comp with a new home that went for over $1 million, and that's probably not realistic. So sometimes you can't always rely on comps. You have to look at the property and say, okay, this is what they want. These are the upgrades that I need to make. After that, this home will be about this value based on other homes that we've seen or sold or whatever, and almost comp it at its full potential, if that makes sense. I like to do that so people understand what they're getting into in the end and what they can expect. So again, we'll recap here. We want to make sure that you if you're, don't lowball, don't go too high. You know, you're justifying your offer. So when we make an offer, if it needs work, we say, hey, we made this offer based on it needs this, it needs this, it needs this, it needs this, it needs this. I hope that makes sense. Any questions, feel free. My number is up here. You can call me, text me, email me, and I'll be happy to help you, assist you in any way. All right, so reasonable offers. Point number, what do we did? 1 or 3. Things you can negotiate into the contract. I'm going to take this whole commission thing out because that's something that we do now in separate addendums. But when you are putting your offer together and negotiating, you also can negotiate closing date, inspection timeframes, earnest money. That's a big one. So when you're working on your offer, and you know, you may say, okay, I want to put 5,000 down, 10,000 down, 20,000 down. Now, the more expensive the home, the more your earnest money needs to be. And refer back to this video about as is and standard contracts. So you understand what happens when you get into the contract and how that affects your escrow deposit. But if you know it's a property that's just on the market maybe, and it's really nice and you're expecting, we know that there's a lot of activity and they're probably going to get multiple offers, because that does still happen. Not as much as it used to, but it does still happen. Your price is something that you negotiate and the seller's going to consider, but also the terms, the escrow deposit. How much is that money? Because on a standard contract, you can't back out. If you back out, you're going to lose your deposit. So they know you have skin in the game, and they know you're really serious and you want to move forward. You're not just testing the waters. The inspection, the time frame. 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, 7 business days, 10 business, all different ways to negotiate the inspection period. And please do me a favor, never buy a home without an inspection. I'm telling you that. I've seen people do it, and sometimes you're successful, but please don't do it. Get an inspection. You owe it to yourself to make sure that that property is sound, and you don't want any surprises after you make your purchase. Also, once you make your offer and you go through the inspection and you have repairs, now we can negotiate repairs. If it's an as-is contract, we're going to go back to that video. Seller doesn't have to make repairs, but you can negotiate it. In the standard contract, the seller has to make repairs up to a specific amount. So the seller could limit it, or it could be 1.5% of the sale price of the house. So these are things that you, the seller, and you, the buyer, can negotiate what gets done and how it gets done in your offer. So those are ways to negotiate things other than your price. Now, if you have to negotiate a home sale contingency, that can be a little tricky because depending on where you are in the process, the seller might not accept it. But if you have a home to sell, depending on where it is and how desperate the seller is to sell, if you negotiate a contingency, maybe you want a longer closing date, or you have the home to sell, you make your offer higher. So it becomes more attractive to the seller. So for example, 2 things. You have a home sale contingency, it's on the market, you have it under contract, but it's not through inspection. So you really want this house and you don't want to lose on it. So you just, maybe, I don't know, let's say it's a $500,000 house and you would have made an offer of $480. Maybe you go in at $490. Maybe you go in at full price. So those are ways that you can successfully negotiate the purchase, even when you have little, I'm going to say, I call the contingencies hiccups. So then you have a little bit of a hiccup. Sometimes you might have to negotiate a lease back because the seller needs to stay a couple of days extra or a couple of weeks extra. So those are places that you can also negotiate if they need it with the price. So there's all different ways to negotiate and different items that might come up besides, like I said, the home sale contingency, the repairs, that kind of stuff. All right, so let's see, we're negotiating repairs and contingencies. And let's say we get into a multiple offer situation, which I just was recently in a home in Ocala. And what we did was, in the multiple offer situation, you have to have a ceiling. We use something called an escalation clause. And what that means is we really wanted the home. We wanted to beat out the other people making the offer, but we didn't quite want to make the offer as high as possible. So we made an offer, a meaningful offer, and used an escalation clause. And what that is it'll say, I want to buy this house at this price, but if you have another offer, we will beat that highest offer by whatever it is, $500, $1,000, up to a certain limit. And we send that along with the contract. And those prove to be successful. Now, sometimes listing agents and sellers don't want to accept any escalation clauses. They just want your highest and best offer, and that's the end of it. So sometimes it works, and sometimes it does not. You also, in a multiple offer situation, can write a note explaining why you want the property. That's an option too. So there are multiple ways that you can successfully negotiate a sale, but remember, closing. This is the most important thing, and I cannot stress this enough. Do not try to get in the head of the seller. I have so many buyers trying to figure out where the seller's going, why is their furniture there, are they moving, aren't they moving, how come they're selling it so fast? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where they're going or what they're doing. here. I'm going to speak for the Villages, because just because that house is sitting empty doesn't mean the seller has to sell it. I've been in $1 million homes where it's vacant, and they've already purchased and moved into a $2 million home, and that home's sitting. So the buyers, oh, well, I'm sure they really want to negotiate because that house is vacant. Not necessarily the case. So don't get in the head of the seller. Don't try to over negotiate items into the sale. So if the home isn't listed turnkey, my best advice is don't try to squeeze furniture out of the seller, because they may be moving and wanting to sell it. I had a gentleman, perfect home, went into a multiple offer situation, and he hard pressed for the furniture, and we lost the home because it went to somebody else because they didn't ask for the furniture because the people wanted to take it. Seriously, furniture is very easy to buy. I know it might be a pain. You go to any of these furniture stores here, you just walk in, you tell them what kind of home you have, give them measurements, they'll fix you all up. There are plenty of people that stage homes that might help you out. There are plenty of decorators that will help you. And I don't know how much all of these things cost, but because I like to do that for myself. But just think of that. Don't hard press people for furniture, because half the time some of the stuff is junk, and you're only looking for certain things, and just buy the house, okay? Don't, and I know this is a big don't video, and I want it to be positive because I want the experience for you to be positive. So there's a lot of things that in my experience I've seen buyers do that just don't always work out well. So lastly, I'm going to leave you with, even though homes are selling for prices lower than what the home that you're looking at is asking, if that home means something to you, then make an offer on it, because you might kick yourself in the behind later on that you just didn't go for it. Now, I'm not saying bid $60,000 over asking price in this market, but you know, you might be at a difference of a couple $1,000s, or you know, it might be a little bit of a difference, but you really love that home. Then if you really love that home, then you need to make it your home, and you might have to pay more than you anticipated. If it makes financial sense. Don't drink the Kool-Aid. Don't go over your budget or continue to look at homes $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 over what you want to pay because of the homes you like, when the homes that you can afford are a lot less. You might still find the perfect home, and you'll be able to sleep at night and have fun enjoying the Villages lifestyle. So thank you very much for joining me on this episode. I hope you enjoyed how to negotiate and how to successfully negotiate with a seller. If you have any questions, put them in the comments below or give me a call. I'm Robyn Cavallaro. I'm your realtor in Florida. And if you enjoyed this episode, stay tuned. I have another one for you. I think you're going to like it. All right, until next time, I'll see you.